Hello and welcome to the CraftyLittleRat podcast. My name is Hannah. I'm also known as the CraftyLittleRat on Ravelry and Instagram and pretty much everywhere else you'd like to try and find me, apart from Twitter. I don't do Twitter. So it's been a while again since my last podcast. I apologise, it's going to be a bit rough and ready. The room behind me, apparently now my craft room is a dumping room. So you've got things like you've got the sleeping bags that should be in that other room down there, which is the designated dumping room, but apparently is not now because it's this room. But there we go. So as you can tell, I'm suffering from a bit of a head cold this week, so I'm grumpy. I'm really grumpy and really tired, and everything's gone wrong. It's been one of them days. It's Monday, the 2nd of October, and it's been a Monday. So this morning I go grab a shower, my bathtub, shower over bath, because the landlord's cheap. But it's leaking everywhere, so I have to stay home today and work from home and get the plumber out and all of that sort of stuff as well. And then work's been frustrating, and it's just been a Monday. But anyway, so since we last spoke, I've been to Yarndale, so I'm going to talk a bit about Yarndale. I'm going to talk about it as we go through my purchases that I've done. And I have also finished quite a few finished objects. Socks. It's all socks, so, socks. But that's okay. So I'm going to actually dig into finished objects first. If there's any cutting and editing in this, it will be because I've had a sneezing fit. So I don't really want to sneeze on camera because that's gross. But there we go. Anyway, so we'll start with the most recent socks I finished because they're already on some sock blockers. So these were my last socks that I finished in September. I just finished September. It just look a bit weird because of where the stripe is. But these are the triangle socks. And then that's the second pair. Second one of the pair. So you can see these are made up of really cool sort of intersections of garter triangles and stockinette triangles. So this is, it's the triangles pattern, and the top ones are ribbed, which will be nice for keeping them up. So this is a triangles pattern, and the yarn is Knit Picks Felici in Balloon Ride. So the self-striping helps because obviously the intent is that each row is one colour of self-striping. Mine, I've got a couple of little blips, see where it changes there, but I don't think it takes away from the sort of the intent of the socks, but you can see the structure quite well. I think if I was to do another pair, which I will do at least one more pair, but I think for one pair that I'm planning on doing in the future, I'd actually like to knit each triangle in a different, each stack of triangles in a different colour. Even alternating, so you alternate a garter down with a stockinette up. So, I'd like to have my garters all in one colour and my stockinettes all in a different colour. And I think that'd be nice. I think Reese would like a pair of socks like that. And I have got some solids, some West Yorkshire Spinners solids that I'm sure would work. So yeah, I think that'll have to have a go. Oh, apparently, not just sneezing, but lots of yawning. These socks were really, really quick to make, and actually, whereas I thought I'd need to be consistently checking this charts, by the time I'd finished, they got down to the heel on the first pair, that was it, I was good. Didn't need to borrow the pattern or the charts anymore. So I really enjoyed those, and I would make them again. So that's pair 1 that's finished. So pair 2, I also finished. I also finished the fin socks that I was talking about last time. So I haven't really got any show notes in front of me, but all of these patterns are linked on my Ravelry, and I may try and actually go back and make some show notes this time around. Who knows? So these are the fins socks. These were part of Tour de Sock this year, and I used a Canadian dyer, and the colourway is Mud Bay, which is some yarn Christina bought for me. So you can see how it's sort of an undulated pattern. The foot is knitted in plain stocking stitch, and then at the top you've got these rows of sort of shark fins. So I finished these quite a while ago, but I haven't worn them because I've not sort of spoken to you about them. And there's two. So the original sock has you knit a flat foot, put in some waste yarn, and then pick up and knit. Yes, that's that one. There's that one. And then has you pick up and knit the leg up from that. So it's sort of like a pita bread. It looks like a pita bread for the foot, as Zoe from Pins and Needles podcast said. And then you work up the leg. Oh God, I am tired. I apologise. I didn't really like the way that fitted. I feel like in both socks I could have actually done with another half a repeat's worth of length in the foot. The second sock I did, I used a plain fish lips kiss heel, and yeah, that fits slightly better, but I still could have done with that extra half a repeat in length, I think, if I knit those again, which again I probably will do. They were very, very nice. I think I'd want a solid pattern rather than the variegated in order to show off the yarn a bit better. And I'm not sure whether I would knit the thins at the top again, because I'm not sure how well during where they're actually going to go. So the third pair of socks I finished was I cast on and knit a pair of these are vanilla latte socks, and I cast them on for my sister for Christmas. She really likes hand knit socks. She does knit, but she doesn't yet knit socks. She enjoys yarns which are cotton blends. So this is it's a Rico bamboo superwash, because I have the other ball I bought here. So I bought this while I was away in July at M&G Designs in Louth, and the pattern is the vanilla latte socks, which is a three pattern. I just used it for the actual pattern. Ooh. I really should have had a nap before recording. I just used it for the actual pattern. I went rogue, did my own heel flap, because it's just a normal slip stitch heel and a gusset, and then just did my toe as per usual. So yeah, and then there's the second one from that, 2 socks. I like the way this yarn's striped. I didn't actually expect, although it looks very mild when it's up on the screen, it really is just striped. The whites are sort of blowing it out a bit. It's sort of green and purple striped, and I didn't expect that. I have got another ball of this in this colour, so I'm going to be interested to see how that actually knits up as well. Fourth pair of socks is finally a pair for Reese, because I haven't knitted Reese a pair in quite a while. And part of the reason for podcasting today, even though I do feel horrible, is so that Reese can have his pair of socks. Now these ones are the same length as Beth's, so they're a bit too long for my sock blockers, to be honest. But this is, he saw this yarn on a group, on a Ravelry group as I was scrolling past, and it's Drops Fable in the Bourgogne print, Bourgogne? I don't know. Reds, various reds and oranges. And he really liked the look of it, so he wanted a pair of socks in it for him. Because Drops is a weird yarn, I find the Drops Fable, which this is, it has a shorter length of yarn than others in the same size. So it is 50 grams, but the actual yardage seems quite short for me. So I wanted to make sure that I could get him a pair of socks of the length, and there's nothing worse than when you're knitting top down, getting to about here, ready to do the toe and running out of colour. Actually, getting to the toe and running out is fine, because you can often find a contrasting yarn, but getting somewhere like here on the middle of the foot and then running out is horrible. So I did these toe up. So they're toe up. I think it's a Wendy Johnson heel. It's listed again in my Ravelry projects, but it's a free toe up gusset. So see how it creates that sort of that line there. It's not very visible on either side actually. But you can see there, just in that sort of that blur, it creates sort of that, and then the it's a short row heel cap, which if I get the one that's still flat, I think it comes out weirdly, but I think the proof is going to be in the pudding, and Reese has tried them on and he says they're comfortable. So I mean, it's obviously, it's a very flat sort of bit at the bottom, which you'd expect on the foot, rather than a point at the back. Back of the foot, you know, you wouldn't expect it at the bottom, but I suppose it does work. Maybe I went down too narrow. We'll see as Reese wears them, I suppose. That's the main thing. But he's very much looking forward to having these on, so that's why I had to podcast today in order to get them done. And finally, the last pair. I finished up a pair in some Patons Kroy, which I've had since we went to Canada, so over a year now. I really like Patons Kroy sock yarn. It is a thicker sock yarn, so these have all been done. I apologise. These have all been done on 2.5mm needles. So the majority of them have used 60, so the Fins was a 64, I think. The Balloon Ride was a 64. Sorry, it just came up with a use caution, but I might have knocked the table and it might think I'm driving. And then these were, these for Beth and Reese were 72 stitch socks. So this, for these I use 64 stitches for the Patons Kroy, and I do them on 2.5mm needles, because the yarn is just that much thicker. So this is the good one, actually. This is the decent one. So 64 stitches, ordinary heel flap and gusset, normal rib, normal toes. So some of you may remember these. Yes, this is the one. Some of you may remember these as the ones that I was knitting on the mini circulars. Started knitting them on the mini circulars, got through the rib, did not like. I tried some Nico bendy double pointed needles, also didn't like. Went back to Magic Loop, finished them. So this is the first sock, and you may notice that it looks a bit weird, especially compared to this one. And if I put it on a sock blocker, you will see why. For some reason, I had started off with about 72 stitches in the leg, and then by the time I got down to the heel, oh, actually it doesn't look too bad on the blocker. You can see that there's a bit more of a sort of you know, sort of excess fabric there. Quite a bit of excess fabric there. And by the time I got down to the heel, I thought, oh God, no, do I rip it all back out up to the rib? The rib is also big. Do I rip it all back out and start again? And I thought, do you know what? No. So I decreased across that row before my heel flap, because when I get them on, I probably won't notice. They'll just be, one will be a bit bigger in the leg than the other. But they're done, and that's what's most important. And I think I won't notice. I hope I won't notice after I've worn them a few times. They're for me, and you know, socks for me, they look like socks, they act like socks. It's going to be fine, right? I hope. That'll be my excuse. So yeah, I just didn't fancy ripping out all of a leg in order to re-knit it in the appropriate size. So I think they are a bit bigger. They definitely are. My panic was when I sort of ended up with a lot less yarn to finish this sock than I did this one, because Kroy is also a little bit light on yardage. But it all worked out in the end. I mean, you can see, if I hold the two like that, the thinner one in front, you can see how much bigger that second one is to the first. But it works. It works as socks. So that's my Etho Frenzy, and it really is a frenzy this time round, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs of socks that are finished. And I know I've been gone for 2 months, but I think that might be a record, even for me. All I've really wanted to do is knit on socks at the moment, so who can blame me? Socks are brilliant. It's now Socktober, so I get an excuse. But you're still working on that. It's telling me off for charging it while I'm recording. But after I've done You're Still Working on That, I'm going to take a break and let my phone cool down a bit. So, you're still working on that. My first thing that I am still working on, which I've actually managed to finish a row and not be in the middle of the row while I'm telling you about it, is this. It is my Whirly-Good shawl. So it's all bunched up on the needles at the moment, but you can see now that we've gone through the gradient from purple at the top, and we're coming through, gone through the blues, and then we're getting into this really sort of bold green colour at the bottom now. So this is just a garter stitch shawl. It's a circular shawl, knitted back and forth on flat needles, circular needles, knitted flat backwards and forwards on circular needles. That's the words I wanted to say. And it's just garter stitch. So I have markers in at the bottom that follow these eyelet lines for where I need to increase, and I know I need to increase on every 4th row. So I have, which is obviously not on this side, but on this side, I have a marker here that's attached onto the right hand side. It's green and the yarn is now green. Yeah, that doesn't show very well. I have a marker attached onto this side to let me know which is the right side and which is the wrong side. So it's really easy television knitting. So I'm hoping to actually make that my television knitting for the next few weeks and designate socks, even though it is Socktober, relegate socks down to my out and about knitting. So on the way to work, in work, on the way home from work. they will still get done, and as long as I produce 1 pair this month, that works for me. I may produce more in future months in order to make up for it. Ideally, I hit 70 pairs this year, and I not total this year, not 70 pairs made since January. I hit 70 pairs made total this year since I started knitting, and I would love to hit 100 next year. That would be brilliant, but I think at the rate I'm going, I have to produce 2 a month, I think, in order to do that. Or maybe definitely 2 a month this year, and then 1 a month next year. So I can work the numbers out, I think, anyway. So that doesn't have a pattern. The yarn I'm using is a Shapey's Whirl. As I showed you. So ignore the big bit that's coming out there. That's the next colour to use. So I've got green, I've got yellow, I've got orange, and then when I hit the pink, I think I'm going to do my, I have a few rows of pink, and then I'm going to do my decorative edging / bind off, which I've still got to decide what I'm actually doing, but I dare say I've got another 6 or 7 weeks of knitting before I get to that, because there is 1,000 metres. 1,000 metres in one of these whirls. So, you know, that's a good 2.5 skeins of sock yarn. It's a good 2.5 skeins of sock yarn. So it's going to be big when it's finished, but it's going to be lovely. So what else is on my needles? The other thing that's on my needles, I just cast on yesterday because it was the thirst. I cast on a brand new sock because I can't be without a sock on the needles. I finished the other ones on the 31st. And then knit on my shawl for a bit because I didn't want to start on the last day of the month. And then this is what I've started. I took the end out of the way. So this is a colourway by Truly Hooked, which I got from a box. So I don't subscribe to yarn clubs. However, every so often, somebody like Truly Hooked will have a spare subscription boxes, so they tend to make up a few more than they actually sell, and I got in on one of those. So this is the Bright Side of Life, which was from the Monty Python box. This is what it looks like balled up, and it's basically just some very, very happy colours. Looks sort of like a spider's web from that angle, but just very happy colours, brights, neons, and I think in order to do it justice, it's just going to be a plain sock. I think that by adding in any other patterns, it's just going to overwhelm it. So these, it's a 2.25mm needle, and I'm cast on 68 stitches, which is my new go-to for just plain knitting on those yarns, because my feet just need those extra 2 stitches just for a bit of stretch. So that's my finished objects and my what I'm working on. I'm going to take a break, blow my nose, because nobody wants to hear that, and then I'm going to come back with some talk about Yarndale and my lovely, lovely purchases from Yarndale. Okay, see you in a minute. I'm back. Good job I did, because about 30 seconds after I finished, I had a really epic sneezing fit. I just want to say about my t-shirt as well, so some of you might be able to see this. I bought a load of geeky tees from a website called QWERTY, and I think that this is a guy called Goku from Dragon Ball Z. So what QWERTY did was they offered you, you bought some t-shirts, ones that you liked, and then you could, you got mystery t-shirts for free. So I bought 3 t-shirts. I got 3 mystery ones. So I got a 2 Game of Thrones ones, which is good. I watch Game of Thrones, like Game of Thrones. And then I got this one, which is Dragon Ball Z, which I don't watch. You know, I mean, I know it was not my childhood, but sort of like the end of my childhood, I think. Or maybe it was my childhood and we just didn't have the right television cable networks to show it. But yeah, so Dragon Ball Z, not really my bag, but free t-shirt. So, I mean, you know, ideal for days like today when I've got to actually put on clothes because plumbers are coming round, but, you know, can be used as sort of a bit of a posh pyjama top or sort of bottom of the wardrobe. I'm desperate sort of a t-shirt. So, yes, not a Dragon Ball Z fan, but there we go. So, inner spin. I thought I'd quickly touch on inner spin. So, this is what I'm spinning at the moment. It is a braid of fibre from Wildcraft Fibres, and it is called Tawny Owl. It's BFL, so Blue Face Leicester, and silk. And doesn't it look, it's so soft, and the silk in it is so sort of, well, silky. That seems a stupid adjective to use, but it is. It's called Tawny Owl, and it's the colours of a tawny owl, and it's beautiful. So my aim for October is to actually spin for at least 15 minutes a day in October. 30 is a bit ambitious, I think. So that's what I'm currently working on. I've got some on the wheel. There are some pictures on my Instagram. I'm hoping to maybe put pictures on my Instagram quite a bit of that, and maybe I'll do a picture of a day update for October. Who knows? We'll see. I'll get to like day 3 and then I'll forget about it. Okay, so, shiny is the next section. I haven't got any weaving to show you, and that was my spinning. So, shiny is the next section, and which I'll talk about Yarndale. I hope I have been saying Yarndale through all of this, because I may have occasionally referenced it. It's Wonderwool. It's Wonderwool, April, Yarndale, Skipton. Completely different ends of the country, from Belf, which is where Wonderwool is, and also in the other end of the year. So Yarndale is a big festival that a lot of people go to. So it's possibly not the largest. I think Wonderwool is larger physically, but definitely people-wise, Yarndale is a lot busier. So the advantage of Skipton is that Skipton is a town that has a railway station. It also has very good bus systems. It also has very easy access for the vast majority of people, no matter where you come in from, because it's sort of not middle of the country, but sort of more or less middle of the country. So I went up with my sister and my mum. We stayed in a travel lodge in Keighley, which was very, very nice actually. Really nice travel lodge. Never stayed in a travel lodge before. And I was a bit worried because they get their reputation for being cheap and cheerful. And not because of that. I mean, you know, I'm all about the cheap and cheerful. But because there was 3 of us, so I was a bit worried we were going to have a bit of a bed sharing situation going on, and we're all family and all of that. But the room was quite large. 1 double and then 2 cot beds. So me and mum had the cot beds and Beth had the double bed, which was fine. Worked out well. Toby Carvery, just at the top of the hill away from it, which is brilliant. Ate literally all of my meals in the Toby Carvery for a weekend. Breakfast and evening meal. Only we didn't really eat lunch because they do a great sort of a meal. So we headed off on the Saturday morning. So we went there from the travel lodge, really well signposted. Sat-nav got us there. We parked in the Skipton Building Society car park. I think it was £2.50 to park for the day, but it all went to the Lions or the Round Table. I can't remember which one it was, but anyway, a local charity. And then we boarded a bus from there, and it took us out to the auction mart. The auction mart is slightly outside of town, and it was great. We got there sort of about maybe an hour after the show opened, I think, but it was already utterly manic. People everywhere, people as far as the eye could see. That would be my only thing. If I was to go back again and do it another year, I would go back on the Sunday. I think there was too many people for me. I may have been okay if I was on my own, but my sister suffers with crowds and my mum suffers with crowds. My mum isn't a knitter or a crocheter. She appreciates and likes fine things and pretty things, and she likes having things made for her, but I think the crush was a bit too much for her. She's okay though, she's fine. She goes out, she gets herself a cup of coffee, she gets herself a fag, has a smoke, I should say, for any Americans watching. She has a smoke, and she's happy enough to sort of poop about by herself most of the time. But my sister is very into her crafts as well, and wanted to come along and wanted to sort of go into stalls and buy things as well. So that's fine. But yes, there was a heck of a lot of people. But somehow I still managed to make quite a few purchases. So these aren't chronological because, well, they're not. They're in the order they're coming out of the bag. So I wanted to go see Midwinter Yarns because I love their Lithuanian linen. Mum loves their Lithuanian linen as well. She'd brought with her her Flight of the Owl shawl, which I've made in Lithuanian linen in mouse. She loves the juxtaposition of the name owl and owl for the pattern and mouse for the yarn. So I wanted her to show that off, so I did. I went and showed Mr. Midwinter it, some very, sort of oohs and ahs and sort of appropriate noises. And then Mum bought me these 2 for Christmas. Now I know it's not Christmas, but she said I could have them now and use them if I wanted to now before Christmas. So I bought these 2 skeins. So this is the Lithuanian linen, and the top colourway is 611 and the bottom colourway is 10.4. So I didn't actually look at what the proper colourway names were, but I'm assuming it's, you know, yellow and red. So there are no prizes for guessing what this is going to be. It's going to be a Wonder Woman shawl, and it's going to be a linen Wonder Woman shawl. So I don't have many shawls that are in natural fibres like linen, and I figure I'm going on a cruise next year. Long story, I'll get into it another day if you're probably a bit nearer the time. But it's going to be in the summer, and I might want something to wear around my shoulders on the cruise. Don't quite think I can get away with it for black tie night, but you know, who knows, maybe. So that's those two skeins there, which was a Christmas present. Very nice. Always appreciative of a good Christmas present. So I am sort of itching to cast something on, possibly those. That's what I've got. So I ran into somebody who I sort of knew. So one year at Wonderwall, I went with this designer. She used to live not far from my friend Angie, so she came with us to Wonderwall. So this is a skein of Vicky Brown Designs yarn, and I really wanted to support her. I bought a couple of their crochet patterns, and I wanted to support her in her new yarn dyeing adventure, and this was so very, very me, I could not resist it. So the colourway is Stormy Rainbow, and you know me, I love a rainbow. Anything rainbow is my bag. So this I thought was particularly beautiful. It's a sock yarn. This is one I actually didn't have a pattern in mind for, so this is just going to be socks, but that's fine. So I'm looking forward to casting that one on. I might make this my Christmas Eve cast on, I think, if it doesn't get knitted up first, but we'll see. So that's a 4-ply sock yarn, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 425 metres to 100 grams, so a good yardage on it as well. But yeah, I really like that one. I also went to go visit Dye Ninja. So Dye Ninja was one that we actually ran into on our way out, so we must have missed a complete aisle. And as we know, I really love Dye Ninja yarns. I'm hoarding her yarns. I haven't knitted anything with one yet, but I'm thinking that that's going to have to change really shortly because I love her stuff and I've now got lots of it, and I haven't actually made any. So on Instagram I'd seen these skeins. The colourway is Shakespeare line, this insubstantial pageant, and I just loved, you can't see very well, but I loved sort of the green. It's washing out very, very much here, but the green with the sort of the pops of red, and there's pops of teal and blue and all sorts within the yarn. If you dig deep into it, there's some nice pops of red that matches with Nanny Ogg's bloomers, which I also have. So for these two I wanted something, so I bought 2 of those, and then I needed a colour to go with them, so I picked up this one, which is Calypso. Which is, again, it does not capture how deeply blue-green this is. It's beautiful. So the 3 of them together, that's possibly most accurate colour that you're going to get. So the 3 of them together are going to become a shawl, in which there is a one colour that's sort of a slip stitch cable, which will be lovely. What else did I buy? Oh, spinning. I bought some stuff to spin as well. I said I wasn't going to, but then I did. So I'm a liar, apparently, who lies. I went to go pick up something for a friend who in work who has just started to learn how to spin, and I bought her some rose. And I knew I wanted to go see Willow Fibres because they always have such good stuff and it's super cheap. So this is mint fibre. Mint, right? It's like mint. Ridiculous. So I did ask her how it spun up, but she didn't know. But I mean, 100 grams of mint top was $4.75, so can you really, really beat that? No, you can't. So I bought some mint fibre in order to spin up. So that might be the next thing, or the second to next thing that goes on my wheel. The next thing that will go on my wheel, I think, is this. Now, sorry if you're listening through headphones, but I am just going to open this bag. Sorry. Poor porpoise fur was there, and I have spun some porpoise fur fibre before, and I really liked it. My golden mean is from porpoise fur, which you cannot see because it's currently in one of those boxes up there, one of the boxes of handspun. So I wanted to support her because I think she is an awesome dyer, and I really enjoy spinning her stuff. So I picked this up, which is Wensleydale. Now, I've never spun Wensleydale before, but I really enjoyed the colours, and I thought it was really nice. Wensleydale is quite a long staple fibre, and it's reasonably rare to get it in tops. And it's 4 ounces, so 113 grams. She is an American dyer, and therefore seems to do her weights in American weights. Because in the UK you get sort of 100 grams of tops, whereas in the US it's more common to have them sold by grams, by ounces even, rather than grams. So I'm really looking forward to spinning that. I think that's going to be the next one on my wheel. Okay, quick nose blowing break, and then I'll be back. It's sort of that, you know, that day zero of a cold, where it's sort of the first day of a cold, but you've not admitted to yourself that you've got a cold yet, and you're just, you know, fighting against it, and you're making no sense in emails or sentences, and your brain's all foggy no matter how many cold and flu tablets you take, but you're going to fight through it because you are not getting sick. That's how I am today. So that's why I'm podcasting. So the thing I love about yarn shows as well is that I get to find some new dyers to me. So obviously, because of where we are, it's a long way for a lot of the independent dyers that are more north in Scotland to come down to Wonderwool. So Wonderwool tends to attract some more, not smaller local dyers, but it does tend to attract some more local dyers than Yarndale, and Yarndale attracts its local dyers. See what I mean about sentences not making sense? But anyway, I found these ones. This was a new to me company called Sylvan Tiger Yarn. So I bought that because how beautiful is that? So this is their yarn sock base. So it's 100% British Blueface Leicester 4-ply wool. It is just wool. So it is high twist. Can you see how high the twist is on that? It'll focus properly, probably not, but it is super high twist. So high twist means it will be suitable for socks for a lot of people. I'm never quite sure whether the way I wear socks, wear through socks, or sort of treat socks, whether I'd want something that didn't have a bit of nylon in it for me. But that's okay, because this one, and then its brother, which is this one, also from Sylvan Tiger Yarn, which is called Under the Sea. Under the Sea, and then Skyscape number 2, which I thought was quite nice. Those two are going to go live together and become a very nice shawl by Josh Rikes. Because I like them. Look how pretty they are together. Oh, I'm so excited. I love yarn, obviously, as we've discovered, and I love the sort of the potential of them. So I'm really excited to see those two grow up to become their new thing. So that was a new to me dyer, and the stuff by Vicky was also a new to me dyer. And then I got some stuff from another 2 new to me dyers. So these first 2 skeins are from Riven Knits. So this is the BFL DK. I follow Riven Knits on Instagram, very good Instagram. And I also know them from a group that we're in Ravelry together. So this colourway is Indian Giant Squirrel. Sorry about that. That was a kid outside. If that turned up on tape, it was a kid on a very small motorbike, but with a very big exhaust. And if that hadn't showed up on tape, it's going to look like I just spaced out for 30 seconds. So this is Riven Knits DK. This is their BFL DK, and the colourway is Indian Giant Squirrel, because there is an animal that looks like this. And I also bought Banana Nana, which is a sort of a yellow and green and brown and sort of banana colours. I had originally thought that I maybe wanted to knit the 2 of them together into a toph hat, but I'm not entirely sure I do want to knit the 2 of them together. quite like the yellow, but I'm not entirely sure that the yellow is me around my neck or even particularly on my head, which then doesn't leave me much in the way of options. Arm warmers, maybe, but I wonder whether it will make me look a bit sort of washed out. Gonna have to see. But yes, so I was going to put the two of them together because I was trying to pick up the gold tones with the banana, but they're just two different things. I'll find another contrasting colour to go with that once I've had a sort of a bit more of a dig through. It's got some pinks in it, it's got some sort of golds, it's got some sort of dark leaf greens and some browns. I think I might pick up on the browns maybe. Those two, really like. Plus my mum's allergic to bananas, so it was really fun to wave the banana nana at her, even though it's obviously not made with bananas. It was fun to see, you know, to sort of go, oh look, it's bananas, or it's bananas you can touch. And then my last acquisition from there was not an acquisition, it was another gift. My sister bought me a skein of Martin's Lab, and this is their Aubrey lace, which is 55% superwash Blueface Leicester and 45% silk, 660 metres or 656 yards per 100 grams, and this colourway is Drake. Again, we're not doing justice for the bluey greens here, to be honest, today. But yes, so this is my Christmas present from my sister, and again, I can keep it, wind it on, do whatever I like with it. So I actually ended up coming back from Yarndale with a little bit of money in my pocket, which was quite nice. I probably missed a couple of stalls. I know there was a few people there that I didn't get a chance to see, but I think, again, that was possibly through going with my sister and my mum and not going with other like-minded yarny people. That sounds horrible. My sister enjoys knitting and crocheting, and she does a lot of it, but she also does a lot of it for charity and for other people and for their children. So she knits a lot with acrylics and things like that, and cottons and stuff like that, that generally you don't find at these shows, or if you do, it's not necessarily cheaper. So it's not really her sort of a jam, maybe. Whereas when I go to Wonderwall, I go with Angie and I go with Michelle, and, you know, we're all into our sort of luxury fibres, and we're all into pretty things, and we're all into taking an entire day out of it, and, you know, sort of that's it, we're in, we go, you know, we go through, we go hard, you know, we mark on the map where we want to go back. And it was a very different experience with that with Beth, and also an experience with that with the people. I don't know whether they had a capacity limit or anything there, but if they did, they surely must have exceeded it at some point, because there were so many people. You know, I don't get claustrophobic or overwhelmed in crowds particularly, but even for me, it was too many. You know, and it was loud as well. I think that was my big issue with it, was that it was loud, so I couldn't hear what other people were saying because of my deafness. Legitimate deafness, for those of you who are new watchers. I was diagnosed with hearing difficulties when I was a kid. I had glue ear. I never grew out of it. It's now called otis media, which is you know, a more grown-up name for glue ear. But yes, I have hearing loss in both ears, but one worse than the other. I rely on lip reading a lot, and subtitles are brilliant on other bits of media. So in a loud environment where I couldn't swing around to read somebody's lips or read somebody's face, it was, you know, quite hard for me to do. So I think if I did go back, I'd go back on the Sunday. But I don't think I did too bad with what I've got. There were a couple of stalls I missed. So the blacker one I missed with their new Brushworks yarn. But I did order some online, and I think that's the great thing. Looking through Zoe's podcast about the event, there was one called Geeky Yarns or Gamer Yarns or something like that, which might have some cool colourways that I missed, so I can look them up in my show catalogue and go and order from them online. That's the great thing about these shows. Even if you missed out and you see something you like from somebody, all of these sellers have Etsy's or their own shops and sell through there, so you're never missing out too much, I don't think. So I'm going to go, I've added all of my yarns into Ravelry, CraftyLittleRat, again if you want to have a look. So my plans are for the next couple of weeks is spinning. I'm going to do quite a bit of spinning and hopefully have that shawl done by the next time I see you. I'm really looking forward to booking a space. So you may have seen that Zoe from the Pins and Needles podcast and Jenny from Out About Yarn, who's an independent dyer from Cardiff, they're hosting a retreat next year in the end of October next year. So places go on sale next Saturday, so I think that's the 7th. That would make sense. I think it's the 7th, the second Saturday in October, and they've put up a podcast on Zoe's YouTube channel detailing all the details about that. So I'm really hoping I'm going to be able to be fast enough off the button on Saturday in order to get a place and not have a nap, because that looks really good. I'm going to hopefully spend next weekend having a bit of a gut of the craft room. And a bit of a gut of other bits as well around the house, so that Reese can take some stuff to the tip before it gets, horrible and miserable and really, really miserable in October, and we're not going to want to do it. I'm going to pop some pictures in at the end of the cat cafe we went to in Manchester. I went back to my sister's on the Sunday night, and we went to the cat cafe on Monday, and I'll post some pictures of the Japanese food we had to eat as well, because that was beautiful. But the cat cafe was great. They were feeling a bit sore. They weren't really feeling it because they'd been sort of on duty for 6 days. Tomorrow was their day off. But there were some very, very cute cat sleeping pictures, so I'll make sure to add them in as well. Thank you for bearing with me, and thank you for listening to me in my cold adult state. If none of this makes sense, I truly do apologise, but thank you for sticking with me anyway. I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.